There's a few exciting gaming news stories we have to talk about today, starting with a surprise way that Nintendo is generating what I would call a very successful amount of revenue and a discussion around what their future plans could be with this particular avenue. Then we also have to cover a major milestone that the Nintendo Switch just hit as we are well into its 5th year of the console sales. And the big talking point for today's video has to do with, in light of E3 being canceled, there is one other major game showcase that will take place that just got a major date and time confirmation, and we have to break down all the details and talk about what to expect in the summertime direct presentations. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, as I mentioned, guys, we got a few different stories we got to get through today, and we have to kick it off with a conversation around Nintendo and their mobile games, as surprisingly, there is a brand new report and infographic that does a pretty impressive job of breaking down just how much revenue they've made out of their mobile games lineup specifically, and it's rather impressive. So to kick off the conversation, I do want to hop over to Nintendo Life, where they have an article detailing exactly what has been stated from Nintendo here. Nintendo close to hitting 1.8 billion in revenue from mobile games. Most of that is from Fire Emblem Heroes. Nintendo is close to reaching a total of $1.8 billion in revenue from its mobile games, which at the time of writing includes Super Mario Run, Dr. Mario World, Mario Kart Tour, Regalia Lost, Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, and Fire Emblem Heroes. As reported by MobileGamer.biz, the lifetime global player spending in Nintendo's mobile lineup currently stands at just under 1.8 billion. Fire Emblem Heroes makes up a large chunk of spending with a total of 983 million in revenue, making up for roughly 55% of the total takings. You can then here see the infographic where it has all the games ranked across the board, with of course Fire Emblem Heroes sitting at the top at 983 million, Animal Crossing Pocket Camp coming in at 276 million, Mario Kart Tour at 270 million, Regalia Lost at 167 million, Super Mario Run at 87 million, and Dr. Mario World at 14 million. Now, what's then interesting is if you compare that with the total number of downloads, you can clearly see that some of the games just captured a hardcore audience that continues to spend, as if you look at the total global downloads, Super Mario Run comes in at first at 307 million downloads, Mario Kart Tour at 224 million, Animal Crossing Pocket Camp at 65 million, Fire Emblem Heroes at just 18 million, Dr. Mario World at 13 million, and Regalia Lost at 4 million. Now, I'm not a very big mobile gamer at all, but clearly it's a big revenue driver for Nintendo at this point, and it'll be interesting to see how they hold the future of their mobile games from here. Now, I haven't downloaded most of those titles. I checked out Super Mario Run when it launched originally. Mario Kart Tour I've played on and off here and there whenever there's like a new notable update, but I can never really force myself to play mobile games for long periods of time, which actually works out for the Mario Kart Tour front, because it is one of those things that, you know, now we're getting a lot of those stages released as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC Booster Course Pass, and so it's like those are new stages to me because I haven't put hardly any hours into them. I don't think I've played any. No, I take that back. I did play Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. I had to get some extra platinum points for a reward to actually get one of these things. I think I have it right here. Yeah, I do. These My Nintendo rewards that you'll see every now and then. You guys should actually check these out. It's probably terrible with the light glare there, but I have the N64 cartridges of basically Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time. But anyway, that's a little side rant there. It's interesting to see what Nintendo is doing with mobile games. I think that it's something that they will kind of double down on, and we will probably see more iterations come, because I think this is relatively easy revenue when you just put a free download on an app store. You don't have to develop a full-scale AAA game. You just have to make a fun, enticing mobile game that gets people wanting to come back and play. And a tactic you can use with mobile games, if you guys have any of them downloaded, you'll know, is that typically they notify you, hey, it's been a while, come back and earn this new achievement. And a lot of people, especially more casual gamers growing up with smartphones in their hands, they recognize Mario, they recognize the Animal Crossing characters, and surprisingly Fire Emblem Heroes out there doing the bulk of the load. So I guess they have a really hardcore fan base. I would love to hear from anybody who does play Fire Emblem Heroes what the draw is with that game on mobile, because clearly that one is generating a ton of revenue. But when you look at the workload of what Nintendo has to do to produce these games, and then the kind of insane revenue that they are continuing to make, because I don't think it's just stopping here, like people are going to keep spending money in these games, and they're pretty easy just to do drip feed updates updates as it remains available on the App Store. So we'll have to see what Nintendo's future strategy is with this. If it's more revenue for their bottom line, doesn't matter if I don't play the game so much myself. I'd rather see them continue to make good profitable revenue in an easy way, and maybe that gets somewhat thrown back in to our AAA Nintendo Switch games that we all love as hardcore gamers. But I do want to hear from you guys in the comments down below whether or not you play any of these mobile games currently, what you think of Nintendo's overall strategy with mobile going forward, and if you think what I think, which is that we'll probably get more and they'll probably lean into this a lot harder as time goes on, or if you think it's something that maybe they are supporting for now but might just become an afterthought in the future. So I want to hear from you guys on all things Nintendo and mobile games in the comments down below. Now, the next story we're talking about today has to do once again with a major milestone that the Nintendo Switch has just hit in terms of its total lifetime sales, as I think we're going to continue to talk about this and potentially one day discuss the Nintendo Switch being the best-selling home video game console of all time, and maybe even just the best gaming system period, as I think it can potentially, especially if Nintendo does not cut the life cycle short, and especially if we get one more revision, even past the Nintendo DS one day and the long coveted and untouched king of the mountain, the PS2, as the best-selling home console period of all time, sitting untouched for many years at this point. And the reason this is in the news today is VG Charts does have an updated sales estimate, and you can see the following tweeted out, where it says the Nintendo Switch has now outsold lifetime sales of the PlayStation 4 in the US as of March 2022. And you can then see the numbers as follows, as the Nintendo Switch in the US has officially hit 35.62 million and PS4 lifetime sales in the US at 35.25 million. Now, clearly, this is not a global number, and it's also VG Charts estimates, so keep that in mind. But up to this point in time, and every time we've talked about VG Charts estimates, the numbers have been just about spot on, and in my opinion, this is probably all but done. And you have to have the conversation. Of course, the PS4 sold ridiculously well in Japan and other regions of the world as well, but this is that kind of on the road to knocking off the PS4 as another iconic home console that I think ultimately we will see the Switch safely surpass this year. We're also right around the corner from Nintendo's financial briefing that we will get some concrete for sure numbers and a lot of sales updates on both the hardware and software side of things. So there's going to be a lot more news to come with this, but I do like to talk about the trajectory of the sales of the Nintendo Switch and how impressive it is that if you consider that they are still selling a Tegra X1 chip that was manufactured in 2015 and put on the market as part of the Switch in 2017, and that's still the same base technology outside of a better screen and speaker system with like the OLED revision. They're essentially selling us the same hardware. It's still at the same price point that it launched at the $299 for the base model Switch, and of course we have now a more expensive tier with the OLED model. It's a rather impressive feat for Nintendo to have this kind of momentum with a console this far into its life cycle. Whether or not we get an extra revision, I think cements it as whether it's close to the best-selling console of all time or absolutely is the best-selling console of all time, because if we get that long rumored and awaited Switch Pro or new Nintendo Switch, whatever they want to do, if they stick to like their DS style upgrades where they do minor revisions but continue to sell it as part of the same family of consoles, and this thing lasts another 3, 4, 5 years, well, at that point it's no question, and then you have to ask the question, will anybody ever topple the Nintendo Switch lifecycle sales? So I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below your personal thoughts and opinions on this particular milestone, what you think Nintendo is planning in terms of future hardware revisions, and whether or not you think we will be around the corner from a hard next-gen break, or if you think we are more likely to see some kind of new Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch Pro revision as part of the current family of systems before we talk about anything like a true next-gen system, because I think that's kind of where my mindset is falling at this point. But I want to hear from you guys on all things in the Nintendo Switch and its lifetime sales in the comments down below. Now, the last story we're talking about today has me very hyped just simply for the fact that it is painting the picture that yes, indeed, we are fastly approaching the summertime, and as a gamer, we can expect many different announcements from numerous different companies and some very hype reveals and just more information on games that we know are in development. And the reason we have an event in the news today is Summer Games Fest is essentially the E3 alternative this year. As if you're not already familiar, E3 has been fully canceled, not just as the in-person event, but also a digital event, meaning there's no E3 organization this year at all to look forward to. And as somebody who grew up watching E3 every single year and kind of looking forward to that as gamers Christmas week, unfortunately, that is not the case this time around. However, in the modern era, game companies really do not need an organized event like E3, and Jeff Keighley wants to kind of provide an alternative, which up to this point in time hasn't been overly impressive in my personal opinion. It's been a nice showcase and something to have in light of the spotty track record we've seen with E3 over recent years, but it hasn't been that really standout event. However, I do think that with some more attention, love, care, and planning, that Jeff Keighley could be onto something here, and maybe one day we're talking about Summer Games Fest being the primary attraction, and if the ESA doesn't really innovate and provide the funds that they need to keep E3 going in a fun way and attract all the major names back to them, that some of which have already left, like Sony, they're long gone, and I don't think we're ever going to see them come back. We could very well be talking about Summer Games Fest being the very hype summer attraction, and I don't mind which event ultimately is the hype attraction. I could care less about the name E3 or the name Summer Games Fest. I just want a fantastic showcase that all gamers can come together and kind of celebrate their industry that we all love and celebrate all of the new announcements together. So that's kind of where my head falls with all of this. Now, the reason it is in the news today is because we do now have the date confirmation for when Summer Games Fest, the main showcase, will be taking place, and also an interesting viewing option that will be available. And to go over all the exact details, I do want to quickly hop over to VGC and read through their article where they have an exact breakdown of what has been said. Summer Game Fest live showcase dated for June. It promises huge new game announcements, world premieres, special guests, and much more. Jeff Keighley has announced details of this year's Summer Games Fest event. The Game Awards founder will host a live cross-industry showcase on Thursday, June 9th at 11 a.m. PT, 2 p.m. ET, and 6 p.m. BST. It promises to showcase what's coming next in gaming with huge new game announcements, world premieres, special guests, and much more. It will also include Indie Game Showcase Day of the Devs, which will be presented by I Am 8-Bit and Double Fine. Keighley also announced a partnership with IMAX that will let people watch Summer Games Fest and this December's Game Awards in select IMAX cinemas. He tweeted, "With Summer Games Fest, we are building a next-generation global event, decentralized physical events for the community in IMAX, big showcases from us plus partners, play-at-home content, and much more." He's quoted here saying, "This is the future, and it feels good. We are just getting started." So while I personally will not plan on attending Summer Games Fest at IMAX theaters, where you can apparently attend around the nation, I do think it'll be something that's interesting to watch unfold and evolve, because this very much feels like a step one to probably a bigger overall plan in years to come. And if they can ever pull off partnerships with developers directly and have all the major companies on board, where we have some kind of like remote streaming play of game demos that would not otherwise be able to be played, essentially a E3 booth but virtually, I think the prospect of that sounds extremely exciting for the future. Now, you do have to have the conversation of, would Nintendo ever get on board with something like Jeff Keighley and the Summer Games Fest crew? I think Microsoft and Sony maybe seem a little bit more likely to hop on board. I can see Nintendo just doing their own thing. If for some reason E3 doesn't come back in 2023, I think we just start to get the summertime or summer branded Nintendo Directs, and that's what they market it as opposed to hopping on board with another trade show or showcase. Maybe Keighley pulls off a miracle and one day he does get Nintendo on board with Summer Games Fest, at which point that will be my go-to summertime gaming event that I look forward to more than anything else every year. But until that happens, I'm going to be watching this one with a careful eye this year. I am hopeful that we get a lot of exciting announcements and that the presentation that is put together is quality through and through and doesn't feel like more of the Hollywood type of stuff where we just have a lot of actors' faces on there, similar to how the Game Awards has become. I hope it's less of that, more for the hardcore gamers, just a lot of gameplay and fun, fast-paced trailers of new announcements that we want to see at the end of the day. So me personally, I think this is great news on all fronts. I will definitely be excited to see all of the different scheduled summer presentations as we go through the year of 2022, and hopefully at some point in the near future we can be talking about Nintendo officially confirming their summertime presentation, maybe even an estimated length of how long the event will be, and we can start to get hyped for what unannounced games we don't know about may be featured at that particular direct. But I want to hear from you guys at this point in the video on all the stories we talked about today. Nintendo with mobile games, what do you think's going on there? How do you feel about the Switch as it's now well into its 5th year on the market and its continued sales trajectory? And then definitely share with me where you fall on Summer Games Fest, your overall hype levels for it. Do you think it's just going to be a trash showcase and not really worth checking out at all, or you like me and you are hopeful that this year it gets better and it only gets better and better in the future, and maybe one day it will truly become the E3 replacement? So I want to hear from you guys, regardless of your thoughts and opinions on everything we talked about today, in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Make sure you check out yesterday's video if you haven't already, where we boot up a Zelda game that I have not played in quite some time, have some fun together, and discuss which 2022 Zelda game we can expect to hit the Nintendo Switch Twitch, if any at all, and break down the source of all the leaks and rumors suggesting which games they might be. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.